Welcome back to the channel, guys. I'm Kerrod. Today we're going to be talking about depth in your backswing. What is depth, how it can help you change your ball flight and hit better golf shots. Let's get into it. So before we get into it, please go down below, click subscribe, click that little bell so you get notified of any upcoming videos just like this to help your game in the year ahead. So what is depth? Today we're going to be talking specifically about depth in relation to the handle of the golf club. So if I was to swing to the top of my backswing, we're going to be talking about the end of the golf club and the position of that relative to the location of the ball and also our body. So what I've got here is a red stick, and effectively this is going to symbolize exactly where or how much depth I have in the backswing. So effectively, the way to think about the golf swing is that it works on a circle around your body, and effectively at the top of that backswing or the top of that circle, that handle would have a certain location relative to the orientation of your body. So if I'm standing up and let's say I'm playing T-ball for simplicity's sakes, and I was to bring that T-ball bat around my body, at the end of that swing, the end of the golf club would be back and behind my body. Now in golf, the golf ball's down on the ground, so that is what we call an inclined plane. So if I take this rounded motion and I tilt from the hips, that handle location is going to have a certain position relative to my body and relative to the ball. So depth refers to how far back behind the end of that handle is relative to the position in which that ball is located. So if I was to swing to the top and stop, and let's say I didn't have much depth at all, I would be out in this position here. So if I was to get this stick, let it hang from the end of the golf club, we can see that that stick is going to fall outside the line of my feet. The opposite would be true if I had, let's say, too much. My arms went around my body, and at the top of the backswing, the end of the golf club was situated well back and behind my heel. So what's a good reference for depth, and what would we be looking for? Well, effectively, if I get to the top of my backswing, and I'm in a position which would be relatively functional to give me a good chance of swinging the golf club on plane in the downswing, we would be looking to get the end of the butt of the golf club about working down directly through my ankle, right? So effectively what that would mean would be that as I took the golf club back, I was swinging the golf club around my body on an inclined plane, effectively on plane, and then by the end of the swing, the end of that golf club would be, if we were to drop a stick down from that butt of the club, it would go down through the ankle. So what happens if I don't get depth? Now, don't get me wrong, there are major champions who have won from swinging up into this position and dropping and rerouting and even really flat around their body. But we're just talking, for simplicity's sake, just a functional stock position at the top. And the reason we would be looking for something like that is it means you're just not going to have to make as many compensations on the way down. So let's look at some of the errors that could possibly occur from not getting enough depth or too much depth in the backswing. So starting off from a position in which we wouldn't get enough depth. So let's say the hand path as I was taking this golf club back tended to lift too much. So if I was to drop that stick, it would fall too far out of my toes. Effectively from this position here, this is going to preset me, all things being equal, to swing too steep and more of an out to in delivery to the golf ball. And this would be pretty similar for those of you who tend to slice the golf ball from left to right for the right-hander, or the opposite for the left-hander. What else would happen? Well, from this position, we would tend to have more of a steeper delivery. So the golf club may dig into the ground a little bit too much. So if you're getting some deep divots, there is a good chance if you were to film yourself from behind at the top of the swing, you may be in a position in which the handle of the golf club is too far out along relative to the line of your body, which is causing some of those contact issues. And what about the opposite? Let's say we have too much depth. Well, this is generally for those players who would suck the golf club on the inside, the club head and the hands would work around their body, and at the top of their swing, their lead arm would get very low across their shoulder plane. And you can see by this stage here, if we were to draw that line from the end of the club, it would fall back and behind the heel. Now from this position here, sure, we're going to have more of an inclination to have an in to out delivery, all things being equal. However, when you swing the golf club too flat and too around your body, we generally tend to see that players would hit too far behind the golf ball, leading to some fat shots, Otherwise, the golf club would just slightly miss the ground, rise, hit the equator, and then you would hit some really low ones off the bottom of the club that would head too far out in that right direction. So being able to get your golf club back into a position where we have a functional amount of depth is going to help massively with creating some more consistency with your ball striking. So let's talk about some drills and some exercises in which we can work on to achieve this depth position that we would be looking at. Now, one of my favorites is just to simply start off with a straight body and holding the golf club about chest height out in front of your body. From here, I want you to swing and move this golf club around your spine. So at the top of your backswing, you're going to finish in this position here. Notice that the club shaft is still flat, my lead wrist is flat, and my left arm is flat in this position here. Now, if I was to simply tilt my body down into position, like I would at the top of my backswing, that would tend to be in a pretty reasonable spot for depth in the backswing. Now, relative to your current ball flight, you may or may not need to change this. However, what I would advise is go and get a lesson or something similar, get an online lesson so you can see exactly where you are at the top of your backswing and see if you're a slicer, if the end of the golf club is too far out, because that would be causing you to sometimes hit too much across the ball, or if it is indeed too far back behind you and you tended to struggle with too much of a hook shot or inconsistency with the striking and hitting too far behind the ball. So both of those can cause a slew of errors, so ensuring you're getting to a good depth position makes a big difference. So if we were going to once again just go from that level plane, swing back, keeping everything level, tilt down to the ball, that would put us in a pretty reasonable position, and just making some slow rehearsals, keeping and repeating that action, just so you get a feeling of how to get the club back to where it would be in a functional depth position. From there, swing through, brush the ground, and get a feeling or a sensation of what it would be like to swing from that top of backswing position. Now, if you were to do this from your address, so let's say I'm setting up to the golf ball in this position here, effectively what we would be looking to see is as this golf club would be moving back by checkpoint number 1, in which the club shaft is parallel, we would be looking to have this shaft sort of matching our toe target line, what we've got there. And then as you would simply continue to turn to the top, the hand path would work a little bit more around your body. Now, a reference for this as well, relative to your arm length and body type, is going to be that your lead arm is across your shoulder plane. Generally, when we get to the top of that swing position there, once again, if we look at the butt of the club, it would tend to be over that right ankle. So if you're struggling with a certain ball flight and you're not sure if this applies to you or not, what you need to do is you need to record yourself from down the line or jump in front of a mirror and use this as that checkpoint. So you're going to swing to the top and you're going to stop. You're going to see where the end of the golf club is. You're going to drop that line straight down. And what we're looking for is really to get the end of the golf club kind of going through the ankle as much as possible. If you're a slicer, you may be in a position in which the handle's too far out, or someone who hooks the ball, once again, you may be in a position in which you're too far behind. But I hope this helps you gain a little bit of clarity about the swing plane, about depth in the backswing, and how changing or adjusting that could help you with your ball striking and also change maybe the curvature of your shots, in which if you're not that happy with. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Please like and subscribe, comment below if you've got any questions. But until next time, I'm Kerrod. Thanks for watching.